they do a discussion essay. We'll look at a Band 9 checklist, things that you have to do. Hello, welcome to Module 9 of Writing Task 2, a step-by-step guide to discussion or discussable views essays. So let's look at what we'll do in this module. We're going to look at what a discussion essay is, the common mistakes people make when they do a discussion essay. We're going to look at a Band 9 checklist, things that you have to do in order to get a Band 9, how to quickly decide opinion, and we're going to look at the overall paragraph structure and the sentence-by-sentence structure. And then we're going to get into much more detail. We're going to look in detail at how to plan, how to generate ideas, how to write an introduction, a supporting paragraph, a conclusion, and then we're going to look at a vocabulary. So let's look briefly what we did in the previous module. In the previous module, we looked in detail at opinion essays, so agree or disagree essays. The main difference between opinion essays and discussable views essays is we discuss what other people think in discussable views essays. So opinion essays is just all about what you think. So I either agree with this or I disagree with this. Discussion essays are different from that because you are mainly discussing what other people think. So it will give two sides and you have to say why one side thinks this and why one side thinks that. And you have to give your opinion. So let's look at some examples of discussion essays. Smartphones are being used in classrooms more than ever before. Some people think that this aids the learning process, while others think that it hinders it. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. So these are two sides, two opposite views on one topic. So it's one topic, but one has a opinion that is kind of the opposites to the other. So in this one, some people think that mobile phones are good, while others thinks that mobile phones are bad. So what you have to do is give reasons for both and then give your own opinion. Serious violent crimes amongst people who are under 18 are becoming more common. Some people think that children who commit serious crimes should be treated like adults, while others would say that they should be rehabilitated. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. So again, one topic, but there are two opposite views. So some people think that child criminals should be sent to prison and treated just like adults, while others think that they shouldn't be sent to prison and it should be taken into consideration that they are children, and that they should be helped, they should be rehabilitated. So you would have to say why one person thinks that they should be treated like adults and why the other person thinks that they should be rehabilitated. So you have to think about two different views and give your opinion. And we're going to look at that second question in much more detail, so don't worry if you don't understand it just yet. So let's look at common mistakes that people make when they're doing discussion essays. Not giving your opinion. Lots of people discuss both views and they just discuss both views. So they say one person thinks this and the other person thinks that, and they don't give your opinion. If you don't give your opinion, you haven't answered 33% or a third of the question, because there are three things you need to do. You need to discuss one view, you need to discuss the other view, and you need to give your opinion. So if you don't give your opinion, you can't get above a 5 for task response, and you'll also get a lower mark for coherence and cohesion. Some people don't discuss both sides. Some people just discuss one side. So they answer the question like an agree or disagree question, a very one-sided question. It's fine to be one-sided in an opinion question, but you have to discuss both views in a discussion question. Another big mistake is giving much more attention to one side than the other. Giving more attention means that they write a very, very well-developed paragraph for one side, so maybe 100 words or even 150 words, and then for the other side, they might throw in a few ideas that are undeveloped, or they might just write, say, between 25 and 100 words for the other side. you can't get very high marks if you do that, because you haven't looked at each side equally. So both paragraphs should be fully developed, and they should be around 100 words each. So let's look at some things that you need to do in order to get a band 9. You have to give a clear opinion in the introduction. You must do this because, as I said many times, your opinion needs to be clear throughout the whole of the essay. You need to think of 2 main points supporting each side of the argument. So you have to think of one relevant point for one side and at least one relevant point for the other. You have to decide whether you agree or disagree with each side. So your opinion, when they ask for your opinion, they're really saying, side 1, do you agree or disagree with that? And side 2, do you agree or disagree with that? So you have to decide whether you agree or disagree with that, and we're going to look at that in more detail. You have to support each main idea, so each main side, with explanations and examples, and you know why you have to do that. And you should give a short conclusion summarizing your main points and reiterating your opinion. So you have to have your opinion clear in the introduction, support your opinion in the main body, and then summarize and reiterate your opinion in the conclusion. And that will get you on your way to getting a band 9. So let's look at how to decide opinion. This is something that is very confusing for people when they first see discuss both views questions. They don't know how to decide opinion, and they don't know how to write their opinion. It wastes an awful lot of time. Like opinion essays, agree or disagree essays, some people spend their first 5 minutes just thinking about their personal opinion and what they think. You don't have to do that. Just pick one side very quickly. Your personal opinion does not matter. As I said before, pick the side that you can talk about the most, not how you feel personally about it. Agree with one side and disagree with the other. This is the fastest and most effective way to write and discuss both sides essay. If you say, I kind of agree with one side and I kind of disagree with one side, and I kind of agree with the other side and I disagree with it also, that is going to lead to a 6 paragraph essay, and that is going to lead to a very low score. The simplest way is just pick one side that you agree with and pick the other side that you disagree with. Don't worry about your personal opinion, just pick one and do it quickly, and that will lead to your opinion being very, very clear throughout the whole essay, and will mean that you can complete your essay in just 4 paragraphs. So it's quicker, easier, and more effective to do that. So let's look at the overall structure. Of course, first is going to be your introduction, then will be supporting paragraph 1. Supporting paragraph 1 will be the thing that you disagree with. Supporting paragraph 2 will be the opinion that you agree with. And your conclusion. So this is the 4 paragraph structure, general structure, that you use for every discuss both views essays. So let's look at this structure in much more detail. Let's look at the sentence by sentence structure. So paragraph 1 will be your introduction, and you're first going to paraphrase the question. Then you're going to outline both sides, and then you're going to give your opinion. Paragraph 2 will be the negative viewpoint. So the viewpoint that you don't agree with. You're going to state the topic sentence, explain why people think that, give an example of why people think that, and then state if you agree or not. So we're going to look at this in much more detail, but in case you're confused now, the topic sentence won't be why you think this opinion. Your topic sentence will be why other people think this opinion. Remember that you're discussing other people's views. So the topic sentence will be why you think other people are of this opinion. You'll explain why you think other people think this, and you'll give an example to support their opinion. Then you will state whether you agree or not. So because it's a negative viewpoint, you're going to just say, I don't agree with this. So paragraph 3 will be the side that you do agree with, your positive viewpoint. So you'll state why people think this view. Again, it's not your personal view. You're going to explain why, and then you're going to give an example to support why people think this view. Then you're going to state that you agree with this. Finally, you're going to write your conclusion. Your conclusion is to summarize the main points and give your opinion. Then it's optional if you don't think that you're quite over 250 words, you can make a prediction or a recommendation. So let's look at this in much more detail. Some people think that drug addicts should be treated like criminals and sent to jail, while others believe that they should be treated like patients and sent to hospital. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. So let's look at the introduction. Some would argue that people who are addicted to drugs should go to jail because they have broken the law, while others say that they are sick and should be taken care of in hospital. While sentencing them to a term in prison is the quick and easy solution, I believe that it is better to be compassionate and help them get better in hospital. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. So some would argue you're indicating to the examiner that you're showing one point of view that is not your personal view, it's what other people think. And then you state that viewpoint. While others say, okay, so you're saying this is the opposite viewpoint of the one that you've just stated, and there is the reason. Now you're going to give your opinion. So this was just paraphrasing the question. This was just outlining the two main points. And you're going to use the word while. So you could use while, or you could use although. You could say although sentencing them. So while is indicating to the examiner that you're stating someone else's opinion, but you don't agree with this. While sentencing them to a term in prison is the quick and easy solution, I believe that this is going to be your positive view, the one that you agree with. So while indicates the one that you don't agree with, and I believe that indicates the one that you do agree with. So the bit in red is your opinion. So what you have done here is you have given your opinion and you have outlined your main ideas all in one. So you've given your opinion, outlined your main ideas, and you've paraphrased the sentence. These introductions tend to be a bit longer than normal because there's so many things you have to do, because you have to outline other people's opinions, and then you have to give your own opinion and outline the reasons why. So the negative supporting paragraph. This is your first supporting paragraph where you discuss the view of other people and you don't agree with it. On the one hand, custodial sentences provide short-term solution to the drugs problem. By locking up addicts, the government can take them off the street, and they believe that this will stop them using narcotics and also causing any harm to others. For example, in the United States, someone caught with even a small amount of heroin is likely to be locked up for at least a year. However, I believe that this does not solve the actual problem, because drug addicts can gain access to drugs while in prison and will be still hooked upon release. So if you don't understand any of the vocabulary in this, please feel free to pause it and look it up in a dictionary so you can understand the full thing. So let's look at the structure of this. On the one hand, so we're showing two different views. So we start each of our main body paragraphs with on the one hand and on the other hand. So on the one hand, and then we state our topic sentence. So this is what other people believe. And then next we explain why they believe it. So why they believe it, why not why you believe it. Remember, we're discussing other people's opinion. And then finally they give an example to support that view. Okay, so, and then very important, we use the word however. However, I believe. So this is indicating that we've stopped talking about what other people think. So this is all about what other people think, this section. This isn't your opinion, this is what other people think. Then by using however I believe, you're indicating to the examiner, now I'm going to give my opinion. And you say, however I believe, which shows that you don't agree with it. And then you give the reason why you don't agree with it. And this is the reason why you don't agree with it. And we just use the word because to show the reasons. Alright, then we can move on to our second supporting paragraph, which is our positive supporting paragraph. On the other hand, helping drug addicts kick their habit under medical supervision is thought to reduce the number of addicts in the long term. By treating addiction as a disease and the person with compassion, the root cause can be addressed and that person can eventually become free from drugs. For example, in Switzerland, heroin addicts are given free heroin by doctors until they are ready to stop using the drug, and this has resulted in drug-related crime falling by 80%. I believe this method is preferable because addiction is a disease and it benefits both the individual and society as a whole. So let's look at this in a bit more detail, and feel free to pause it and look up any vocabulary you're not sure about. So on the other hand, so we're showing to the examiner that we're going to discuss the other view now. So it's indicating that we've stopped talking about one side and we're going to talk about the other side. Helping drug addicts kick their habit under medical supervision is thought to reduce the number of addicts in the long term. So this is showing the other viewpoint, why other people think this. Then we're going to explain, by treating addiction as a disease and the person with compassion, the root cause can be addressed and that person can eventually become free from drugs. So that's explaining why people think this. Then we're going to give an example. For example, in Switzerland, heroin addicts are given free heroin by doctors until they're ready to stop using the drug, and this has resulted in drug-related crime falling by 80%. So this is all what other people think. This is the reason why people think this viewpoint. Then we're going to stop that and we're going to say, I believe. And this indicates to the examiner that you've stopped talking about what other people think and you're going to give your opinion. So I believe this method is preferable because, so we're using the word because to give our reason. Addiction is a disease and it benefits the individual and society as a whole. So clearly given our opinion and clearly discussed this view. Then we're going to move on to the conclusion. In conclusion, although throwing addicts in jail might get them off the streets for a few years, it does not treat the actual problem. And that is why it is more important to help them get off drugs in a medical facility. It is recommended that more governments follow this logic and bring in more forward-thinking initiatives. So in conclusion, telling the examiner, I'm going to start my conclusion, and we use the word although to indicate that we're going to discuss the viewpoint that we don't agree with. Throwing addicts in jail might get them off the streets for a few years. So this is what the opposite opinion, the opinion that we don't agree with. And then we're going to state our opinion and outline our main reasons. Okay. And then we can use a recommendation if we need to, but you don't really need to include a recommendation unless you are not sure that you are over 250 words. So now we're going to look at everything in much more detail. We're going to go through a whole question step by step, including planning, writing the introduction, supporting paragraphs, conclusion, and then we'll look at the vocabulary that you need for this type of question. So let's start off by looking at another question. Serious violent crimes among people who are under 18 are becoming more common. Some people think that children who commit serious crimes should be treated like adults, while others would say that they should be rehabilitated. And as always, discuss both these views and give your own opinion. So we have to think about our question analysis first. Topic words are crime and punishment, so criminals and what we should do with criminals after they commit crimes, how we should punish them. So we don't write everything we know about punishing criminals, we need to think about the specific keywords. And the specific keywords are, should children be treated like adults, or should they be rehabilitated? So it's all about children, not adults, but should they be treated like adults and sent to prison, or should they be sent to a hospital and treated and rehabilitated? The instruction words, of course, are discussed with both these views and give your own opinion. So first, we must decide our opinion. So we have two choices. We can either say, yes, they should be treated like adults, and no, they shouldn't be rehabilitated. Or we can say, no, they shouldn't be treated like adults, and yes, they should be rehabilitated. So very, very simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to agree that they should be rehabilitated and disagree that they should be treated like adults. So I don't think they should be treated like adults. So remember the coffee shop method or the direct method, where you pretend that your friend asks you some questions, asks you the question directly, and then you answer them. So what you do is you just reverse it. What you do is you pretend that you have two friends and each of them agrees with a different side. So you ask friend A, what do you think about this? Give me a reason for this. And you ask friend B, what do you think about this? So treated like adults. Let's think of, say you have one friend that really believes that children who commit crime should be treated like adults. What would they say? They might say that the victims need justice. They might say that it depends on the seriousness. If it's a very, very serious crime, then of course they should be treated like adults. They might say that these children are a danger to society. They might harm other people in society, so they should be sent to prison. And then you ask your other friend who doesn't believe that children should be treated like adults. They should be sent to hospital and to be treated like patients. That person might say they're not fully developed yet. Their brain. They also might say there's a higher chance of rehabilitation with children. So with a child, there's more chance that you can treat them and make them better than someone who is in their 30s, 40s, or 50s who will stay a criminal for the rest of their lives. And they also might say they will have to rejoin society eventually. So most child criminals will have to rejoin society, go back into society eventually. So if you throw them in prison and throw away the key, you won't really be making them better. What you have to do is prepare them for rejoining society. So the first two stages of planning are complete. We have analysed the question and we have thought of our ideas. So what we need to do is we need to input our ideas into our structure. So we paraphrase the question and then we outline both sides and agree with rehabilitation. So I have decided that rehabilitation is the best thing to do. Paragraph 2, our negative viewpoint, the point that we don't agree with. I'm going to use the idea of a victim. So the victims need justice. Why do they need justice? Why? An example, I'm going to use the example, a mother of a toddler, a very young child who was murdered by other children, and she demanded justice, of course. And then state if you agree or not, and I'm going to disagree with that viewpoint. And you'll notice that I used only one idea. I had 3 or 4 ideas for each viewpoint. I only used one idea, and that idea is the one that I can talk about the easiest. Our positive viewpoint, and I'm going to use the fact that children's brains aren't fully developed. Therefore, they're not aware of the consequences of their actions. An example is in the UK, they routinely rehabilitate young criminals, especially serious criminals like murderers, and I'm going to use that example. State whether you agree or not. I agree with this. Then we're going to move on to our conclusion, summarize our main points and give opinion, and write a prediction or recommendation, which is totally optional. So now we have a nice plan. We know exactly what we're going to write, but before we start writing, we could think of some vocabulary. So So crime, murder, and offence, they're synonyms for crime. Children, we could say young people, we could say adolescents, we could say minors. Adults over 18s or grown-ups. Rehabilitated, we could say rehabilitation or treated or reformed. Sorry if you're hearing screaming in the background, that's my little baby. He's getting very excited, sorry about that. And victims. So if we get to victims and we can't think of a synonym, just don't spend 2 minutes trying to think of synonyms for victims. If you can't think of them, just stop and move on. So you can just repeat the word victims. So let's move on to our introduction. So 2 sentences. First we're going to paraphrase, and then we're going to outline both sides and agree with one. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is paraphrase the question. So here's the question again, and we have a general statement here. So first we're going to paraphrase this general statement. Major violent offences, so instead of serious violent crimes, major violent offences are being carried out by children more often. So people under 18, children, becoming more common more often. So this is our paraphrase of this bit. So next we need to outline both sides. So the outline of both sides is this bit. So the question has already outlined both sides. So what we need to do is we need to paraphrase this underlined in red. Okay, so outline both sides. Here's the question again. While some would argue that they should get the same treatment that grown-ups do, I believe that they should be treated differently and rehabilitation is a better option. So let's look at what I did here. While some would argue that, we're indicating to the examiner that we're going to submit something that other people think. I believe that. So the first part of this is the negative viewpoint, the viewpoint that we don't agree with. So some people think this, however, I believe that, and then we're going to state our view. So we have outlined our main ideas and given our opinion in this section. So the whole introduction looks like this. Major violent offences are being carried out by children more often. While some would argue that they should get the same treatment as grown-ups, I believe that they should be treated differently and rehabilitation is a better option. So let's look at the first supporting paragraph. So this is our negative supporting paragraph. Topic sentence is going to be about victims. They need justice is why. Example, mother of toddler, and then I'm going to disagree because children themselves are victims. On the one hand, treating young violent criminals like they are over 18 gives the victims justice. Someone who has lost a loved one would find it very difficult if the perpetrator was not sentenced to prison because they are not old enough. Their relative is still dead or injured no matter how old the criminal is. For example, the mother of Jamie Bulger said that it was like the crime happening all over again when she heard her son's murderers were released earlier than expected because they committed the crime when they were only 11 years old. However, I believe that a criminal's age should be taken into consideration because they are not fully developed as human beings. So what I'd like you to do is just pause that and think about why I've highlighted the parts in blue. So the blue parts, why have I highlighted them? What does it indicate to the examiner? So supporting paragraph 2, topic sentence, they're not fully developed. They were not aware of the consequences. Example is going to be about the UK, and I'm going to agree. So on the other hand, it is thought that children who carry out acts of violence are not aware of their actions because of their age. A young child does not know to the same degree as adults that their violent actions will result in death or serious injury. This is why young murderers in the United Kingdom are rehabilitated and given new identities so that they can live a normal adult life outside of prison. I believe that this school of thought is preferable because it helps the young criminal reform and ensures that they do not carry out serious crimes again. So again, I'd like you to pause the video and think, why did I highlight the bits in blue and the bits in red? And think about the structure that I have used for this and how I am telling the examiner what I am telling the examiner. Let's move on to the conclusion. We're going to summarize our main points and give opinion. Victims demand justice, but children are not fully developed, so should be rehabilitated. So this is a very short part of our conclusion, just like a mini plan. In conclusion, although sending young criminals who have committed violent atrocities to adult prisons gives the victims some justice, the criminals themselves should also be seen as victims, because they were not aware of their actions, and that is why trying to make them model citizens again is a more preferable option. So this is our last paragraph. Pause the video, think about the structure, how I'm informing the examiner, and why I highlighted the words in blue. So don't forget to review your essay. It's very, very important that you review everything. This is the last part of your exam before you finish. You have to make sure that you do these things in a discuss both views essay. You have to give a clear opinion in the introduction. Think of 2 main points supporting your opinion. Discuss these main points with explanations and examples, and give a short conclusion summarizing your main points and reiterating your opinion. So I'm going to show you now some vocabulary that we used in that essay, and this is all Band 9 vocabulary. So feel free to pause the video again and look up any words you don't know, but this is again to show you that you don't need the most amazing vocabulary to get a very, very high score. I think if you are hoping to get 7, 8 or 9, you should be able to use these kind of words or words like them you should have a wide range of vocabulary like this and be able to use these types of words. So here's your turn. Governments give a lot of support to artists, even though some people think it is a waste of money that could have been used elsewhere. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. So please try and use all of the things that you have learned in this module to answer this question. And you can submit it to a teacher or get someone who knows about IELTS to correct it. Or if you signed up for our VIP package, you can send it to me and I'll give you detailed feedback on your answer. So let's review what we did in this module. We learned what a discussion essay is. We identified the common mistakes, looked at things that we need to include in order to get a Band 9, learned how to quickly decide opinion, looked at the structure, and then we looked in more detail at planning, idea generation, introduction, supporting paragraphs, conclusion, and we looked at some vocabulary. So in the next module, we're going to look at a problem and solution essay and a causes and solution essay, and learn how to write everything in those essays step by step. So I hope you find everything very useful in this module, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Hello and welcome to Module 9